So we went to the theater to see Your Monster, the newest film starring Melissa Barrera, who obviously was fired off of Scream
So
and
sad.
now is off doing like Abigail and now this. It seems
Yeah.
like she's doing just fine. And in the movie, she meets a hairy, furry little beast that looks just like no.
He doesn't look
No, okay.
just like.
So the movie is about a girl who has a really terrible breakup. I'll let the movie uh, handle that
To
part.
say the least.
And she meets a monster that lives in her house.
Hmm.
And he wants her out of the house. He's tired of having her around. And he gives her a 2 week notice to get lost.
Yeah.
And so then they start spending some time together, and I'm sure you can figure out where this is heading. Um, so as far as this being like a horror comedy, this is, for all intents and purposes, this is like a rom com, like kind of through and through. The horror aspects of it are mostly in the lieu of like um it being a monster. He just kind of
Mm.
looks like the beast from Beauty and the Beast, but not as big or as furry. And there's not really almost any horror, like gore, kills, or anything like that. So if you're expecting some like violent movie or like that was kind of a disappointment for me a little bit, only because of like preconceived notions. But once the
Mm.
movie was finished, like I totally got what they were going for, and I totally understand like the point of it all. I just think that if this is being marketed as like horror
Mm.
at all, then it's probably being mismarketed. I didn't even watch a trailer to this. I saw that she was in it. I saw the cover, the poster, and the title, and I think I saw a very, very brief description, but it's like I kind of expected this to be what it was, just maybe a little more. I guess what I expected it to be is more like Lisa Frankenstein.
Ah.
And it's a little more romantic and a little more sweet
Yeah.
than that. So if you're somebody who's like against like rom-coms, then I would skip this for
Mm,
sure.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I loved it. I do think that there's some mild horror aspects to it for sure.
Kaylee is
Um
the target audience.
yeah, I definitely am. This is what I'm always talking about with like in the Disney animated Beauty and the Beast when the beast like transforms into the human form and he looks horrible and I'm just like he should have stayed as the beast. That's what this is. Is just him being that. So good. Yeah, I thought this was awesome. I think Melissa Barrera, she's like I already loved her, so like I don't know. It wasn't really I wasn't expecting anything less than, a spectacular performance from her, but I haven't ever seen her in a role like this before,
Hmm.
where it's a lot more lighthearted at times. And I don't know, I just felt like she had such range in this that I had never seen before, and I really loved it. I loved her performance. I love the actor that plays the monster in this. Like their chemistry, I think, is so great. I love the setting. I'm always like a huge fan of this is takes place in New York City,
Hmm.
and I like really romanticize New York City in my mind, and I love seeing it in films. And it's not like I don't know, there's not like a lot of shots like in the city, but it's just like there's you get the atmosphere and the vibes. And the main character, this she's an actress, like a wants to be on Broadway actress. So I was super into that element of the story.
Yeah, a good amount of the movie takes place like
On
on
yeah,
Broadway in
like
a
well in a
play,
theater
and
and
yeah,
on stage and during rehearsals, and there's some musical aspects to it.
wonderful
She
voice.
sings and
Yeah,
has an incredible voice that I
yeah,
did not know.
yeah.
Love the music, thought that was so good. The ending for me, I think, was like one of those really iconic endings, honestly. Like for me, I feel like it's up there with the ending of Pearl. honestly, like with how cathartic it made me feel, and like just I loved it. But I also think that it packs a lot into it as well. I think that there's a lot of ways you can interpret the film, or at least a few different ways that we kind
Yeah,
of talked about
yeah,
afterwards, like what's actually happening,
yeah.
and kind of like what's real, what's not real type of thing. So I'm super into all of that, and at the heart of it, it's like this. If you've ever gone through like a really bad breakup with somebody that's just like they are over you already, like I think that's where people will really be able to relate. Um, but yeah, anyway, I loved it.
I mean, I think it's like an R-rated Beauty and the Beast.
Hmm.
Um,
With modern day.
yeah, and it's like if Belle was getting over a really bad breakup,
Yeah.
right? And I could definitely liken this to some things. A Marriage Story,
Hmm.
with Adam
I
Driver and
still haven't
Scarlett
seen that,
Johansson.
which is kind of
He's a
shocking.
playwright, and she's like,
Ah,
so
I see.
there's some
Yeah.
similarities for sure there.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's definitely a very enjoyable, very sweet rom com with some very mild horror elements, and it is I think um, Melissa Barrera and the main guy who plays the Beast. They're the heart of the movie. I mean,
Absolutely.
they're the majority of the time you're going to spend with the movie, and yeah, you get very invested and very
Mm-hmm.
upset
Yes.
with some of the actions of people.
Yes, it's definitely got that like drama within like a like romance drama.
It's a shame though because while I do think this is a very fun movie, it
Mm.
probably make Kaylee's top 10. Um, there was no one.
No,
When I say no one, I mean
we
literally just us
it
in the
was
theater.
just us.
And when I checked like showtimes and whatnot for other theaters, there was no one in any of
I
those
feel like
either.
it's such a fun movie too. Like that's why, I mean, I think the ending is fairly dark for sure.
Yeah,
But like you said, the majority of the film, like it is very much a rom-com, and it is really entertaining, and
it's
I
very
think I
funny.
think I think I think large audiences, like wide audiences, would enjoy it. Is what I'm trying to say, especially around Halloween.
Yeah,
I
if
don't
you
feel like anything is pushed like as far as like the envelope goes with like weirdness or anything. Like it's very straightforward. The only thing that's different is just that the gimmick is he's a monster.
yeah, if you got a girlfriend or something that's like super into rom-coms and you like wanted to take her to something for Halloween time, this is like the perfect
Especially
film
if
for
she's
that.
into monster romance. Yeah.
Right, yeah, she's got that kink, unlike someone I know. Yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed it quite a bit. It's a very fun film. I think Melissa's great in it.
Yeah.
And speaking of Abigail and um, Lisa
Scream. Oh, Lisa.
Frankenstein, her and Catherine Newton are both in Abigail, and both her and Catherine Newton also like both made like these kind of rom com monster
Yeah.
movies where she falls in love with a zombie and she
Right.
falls in love with like a monster, like a beast.
Yeah, it's super cute.
So that's interesting that they're in a movie together this year, like a big horror movie, and then they
Mm.
both made two like rom com horror movies
Yeah. Lisa
separately.
Frankenstein is much more like kind of teen romance y, I would say.
Yeah,
Whereas this
this
is
one's
more
more
like
adult.
young adult, like you're living on your own and like going through that part of your
Yeah,
life.
yeah, I
So
think that appeals more to like a teenage audience for
for Lisa
sure. Yeah,
Frankenstein, yeah, this one is more for like our age demographic and older, but
yeah.
definitely mostly probably our age demographic. Um, yeah, I don't know. I loved it. I thought it was great. I definitely want to own a copy of it when it comes out, hopefully on Blu-ray. And yeah, I think it's going to be one of those overlooked films, so it's a big recommendation from
It
me.
already is.
Yeah.
It already is, but it has a great rating on IMDb.
As it
It's like a
should.
7.0.
It's a well deserved.
Yeah,
It should be higher,
yeah,
but yeah.
yeah. Super fun. Definitely check it out if you can support it because,
Yes,
like,
please.
we always talk about it, right? All the movies that have
Yeah.
the unique original plot lines and aren't any original, or they aren't IPs. They're
Mhm.
not established franchises. Everyone's like, "Oh, stop making sequels, stop making remakes, stop making," and then nobody sees these.
Yeah.
We
It's
say it
like,
time and time again.
yeah.
Every time we go to something that has a built-in audience, an adaptation or a sequel or a remake, and everyone's like, we went to see Speak No Evil, and
Hmm.
that's a remake of a movie that came out 2 years ago, and everyone was screaming to high heavens, "This doesn't need a remake. Why are they making a remake?" You want to know why? Because that theater was
Oh my
packed.
God, it was
That theater was
so
sold
packed.
out, and we saw it in a theater 10 times the size of the one we saw this in. They threw this in a small theater because they knew no one was going to come, and they were fucking right. So we have no one to blame but ourselves. Now we actually go and see both. We're seeing the remakes and the original films. But what are you guys doing? That's the real question, because when we go to see When Evil Lurks, when we went to go see, I mean,
Mm.
I can go down the list of all the movies over the last few years that Kaylee and I have seen together, all the ones that have like no brand recognition to them. The theaters are always completely empty.
Yeah,
And every
it's
time we go
true.
to see a sequel, a remake,
Yeah.
and then they're like, why do they make them? Because people show up. Producers aren't going to produce movies that don't produce money,
Yeah.
right? So you've got to support these types of movies if you want them to be made.
Yeah,
It's very simple.
it is. The other movie we saw recently that had a totally empty theater aside from one other guy was Rumors,
Rumors, yeah.
which is nothing like this movie, but
No. It's unique.
definitely
It's
very
original.
unique and original.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's always sad when we go into a movie and it's just like us and like one or two other people.
Yeah.
I'm always like, how did you guys hear about it too?
Terrifier 3 sold out.
Oh man, so
Long
many
Legs,
people.
like 3 people.
Yeah.
Oddity,
But
like
then
5 people.
Long Legs started, I think, getting more and more
Word of
because
mouth.
yes, it
Yeah.
became it. I think Long Legs was like the movie of the summer for the most part.
But when we
So
went, there was nobody there for a while. It did finally make money, though. Thank
yes,
God.
yeah,
But that was like lots of good word of mouth from people like us and others. And that
yeah,
ended up making like $100 million, which is
yeah,
wonderful, right? But it's like when we go opening night and there's no one there, it's always such a
yeah,
shame.
yeah. It
So,
makes me sad.
but this is the first one we've been to in a long time where it was
Just us.
just us.
So go see it, especially if you're a fan of Melissa and like you want to support her at the very least. I think you won't be disappointed. Her
Yeah.
acting was so good in this.
I really hope she comes back to Scream. I really hope
I
they
do
can resolve
too.
that issue.
I do too.
It's so stupid that they fired her.
Oh my god,
So dumb.
so
I
dumb.
want to see her and Jenna come back and
Yeah,
finish off that trilogy. Anyway,
yeah.
that's that. You're a monster. Go check it out.
Watch it.
All right.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.